which I don't know, every time I talk about something, it seems like the LMT kind of follows up on it. Downtown Laredo is the part of the city. You know how I've been talking about downtown Laredo, how easy it would be to make it look nice and inexpensive to make it look nice before you build this. God only knows. That might be Trisha. Hold on a second. Since I'm a one-man show and constantly trying to be sabotaged over here, but that's okay. I'm sorry I don't have any audio today, but Friday, we had somebody here that was messing with the audio, and I can't get it to work right now, so we're just going to have to do it this way without the video, on just an audio file another file that I have that's working properly. God, I didn't let him look at that one. Looking for the child support office. My is in the old child support office. Great. Here at 7:15, so I don't even know if she's coming. And then, of course, that's.
community subset that is represented by an organization.
So we have basically we have donations of free buildings and space, and where would the money come from to build it in North Park?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, right now the county has pledged $500,000 with a cap, and the city of Laredo has pledged $500,000 with a cap for a total of $1 million for this museum. That includes everything, right? Construction, operations, staffing it. And well, and so here's the thing, Jay, is
you can't even build a Burger King for $1 million.
Well, there's not even a financial plan in place. There's no type of plans or designs that have been submitted. Back when they had identified the Farias building and the city had committed that initial $500,000, it was specifically for a building downtown that would help be part of an urban revitalization project, right? And so when and how it moved from downtown to now North Central Park to go from being a veterans museum that was going to honor Laredo veterans who'd served in all of these conflicts with letters, a lot of memorabilia like that, uniforms, all of these it was going to be a very intimate type of personal moving museum. And there were architectural renderings that were done, and the way that that initial museum at the Farias building was going to be structured, there were going to be rooms in chronological order representing all the different conflicts in U.S. history where Laredo veterans have served, and there would be all of these objects on loan from all of these families of these veterans. And so at some point or another, for a lot of different reasons, the $1 million was secured. They got that building downtown, and for lots of different reasons, it just did not happen. So then you fast forward to this year, 2017, you have a new group of veterans that now want to take the lead, and they change the location, and now they're talking about a museum that would have choppers and tanks and howitzers and all of these very large static objects of war that they want. They're now a warehouse type of construction and these pavilions for car shows and all of these types of things. So the scope has greatly changed with no plan. There's no budget. There's no architectural renderings. There's no plan in place of, how much are these studies going to cost? Especially if you do North Central Park, you're going to have serious environmental impact there. So how much is that study going to cost? How much is it going to cost you to deal with that? How much is the construction going to cost you? What are you going to have left for operations and maintenance? And so none of this has been discussed whatsoever.
This is like ludicrous.
And part of us think, well, what kind of precedent are you establishing? What if this week it's the veterans, and then next week, Jay, what if the Girl Scouts come and say, hey, can we build our center there at North Central Park? Because we sure do a lot of stuff related to nature and conservation. Why would you tell them no? There's no, what kind of precedent are you establishing? Or some other group comes and say, hey, we'd like to build something there because it makes sense with what our group does. And past this, we don't have a plan in place. We don't have financials in place. And we'll get it all figured out, though, but just pass it.
I would like to help you.
We need your help. We need the help of a lot of people because we want the museum not at the park.
Well, I don't want it at the park either. I think it's ludicrous.
Okay,
that would be even considered that you would even consider that.
So, Jay, explain your how you view this issue. You as a
I was there back in 2001 and with Dr. Jim Earhart, who I consider a friend of mine, and we went through a lot of trials and tribulations, a lot of talk on the radio program back in the old days, and he fought many an hour to get that thing done. And Gene Bell Morris, I think he was up there at the city council.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand why these people don't know, what a good thing that North Central Park and how much work and fighting it took to get it to that good thing stage, and why don't you just leave it alone and put this VA thing somewhere else? I don't understand. There's just no rational thought put into this by the city council. I don't know what it's. The only thing I can think of is there must be contractors that want to build this thing, and there must be payouts at the regular old, let's do it the city of Laredo's way and build something new and tax the people more. And I don't understand where they're going to get the money. I don't understand where they're going to get the money and nobody knows how much this big project is for the new convention center is either. Nobody has any idea. And it's all about making La Posada look better instead of working on downtown first. Have you not heard me talking about downtown? I went to McAllen, and they had a very simple remedy. They sandblasted all the downtown stores, the retail stores, and then they put a little facade up there. It didn't cost that much money. It looks real cute. Now, you read the paper here this morning, and or yesterday's paper, and guess what? People are complaining about why they don't go downtown. But I've been talking about that for the last week. I'm telling you, this is just another fallen by the wayside, talking about downtown Laredo. People are complaining that when they go down there, it smells bad because the old sewer lines are emitting, But this whole thing with the VA building or the VA museum being built over there at North Park just doesn't make any sense to me at all. I don't even know why we're talking about this.
Well, it's a real thing, and it's serious. There's a sense of urgency,
From Charlie San Miguel?
And, the when they voted on this, AJ, it was, October 2nd? It was like 2 months ago, I guess. And the item on the agenda was so vague. It just said, consider city property for proposed Veterans Museum. So nobody had any idea of, what place were they talking about. I'm talking about the public. Nobody had any idea, and nobody could go and speak about it. And so it was during the course of that one city council meeting where it had already been obviously discussed and arranged with these other parties. It wasn't until then that information about North Central Park came to light. And so the city council, some of the members asked questions about this, but in the end, the city council passed this. But there was nobody there to discuss this. So, that's a big concern of ours, this kind of lack of openness or lack of transparency about, what's the plan here. And so now that's what we're dealing with, Jay. So here's how you stop it. It's not going to. I don't think it's going to happen. And this is the reason why I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen because you're not going to let it happen. Number one, no, you're not going to let it happen. Tricia Cortez is on the charge, and no. I love those shirts. What does it say? Not in North Park. Save North Central Park.
Oh, okay. Save whatever it says. but you need more of those shirts and more ladies that live around there that have little children going to school and everything and that love that park. Mm-hmm. And you need that. All of these people. There was only, would you say 40 last time?
Yep.
Then let's go 150 and let's start doing some signs. And this the only way you're going to stop this, it sounds like to me, is just get enough people to say no.
Yeah. It's interesting because you've got veterans also who AJ's a veteran there. He's an avid user of the park, takes his little boy. And so AJ, can you explain why you as a vet got involved with this, when we're talking about a veterans museum?
Well, that's really a layered question. So I initially got involved because I don't think it is consistent with the park. I think that's a poor location. I do think that a veterans museum would be really nice, and the vision that they're putting forward, I like to kind of see it come to fruition with a little bit of modifications. Like I like the idea of the big artillery pieces and stuff like that, but at the appropriate location where it would fit well. I think that warehouse style construction is honestly doing them a disservice, and instead of doing it cheap, I think we should kind of reset, get more stakeholders involved, and do it the right way the first time. One thing that really concerns me is that like Trish said, everything happened in the first meeting, and there's really no community input. There's zero community input.
Nothing new there.
Yeah, so, we love our veterans. We're grateful for everything that they've done over the years. We owe them a debt service that won't be able to be repaid. But like I said previously, that doesn't make veterans super citizens that outweigh the rest of the community. And the fact that this was just kind of pushed through with no community involvement, and then really they're kind of digging in their heels because we keep going to public comments and we're not able to have a discussion. So they're hiding, in my opinion, behind the public comments because they can't engage with us. So they're not responding. They keep saying, well, we want to do what the veterans want. Well, every day more and more veterans are coming out and saying, I wasn't represented, I don't like this idea. And then the community's also getting involved. So it seems like they're just, I don't know, trying to save face, or just, we had a plan. I'm not sure what it is, but they won't even engage with us. If Charlie San Miguel truly wants to do what the veterans want, he would be the one bringing it back to the table to make sure that we're moving forward the way the veterans want to do, and not hiding behind the group of 30 people that showed up the first day and pointing to them. I mean, that's the first meeting he did that.
Hey, you know what? I really, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm digging what you're saying and everything like that. And let me just once again say it's not going to happen.
Tricia did say that she's going to chain herself to heavy machinery if necessary.
No, but and so Jay, the good thing is that there's a large group. There's a new group that formed immediately called Friends of North Central Park. And I was not a part of that. Neither was our organization. It was a group of folks, AJ and others, that were stunned by this rush move with no community input whatsoever. And so they have become really active, and our organization's involved, and there's other veterans.
This could be fun.
And
I mean, you seem so gloomy that I'm going like, man, are you kidding me? This is the first time. This is the first issue in a long time that I believe there'll be actually a lot of people that really will go out in front of City Hall and start protesting. This could be a milestone of future things to come. I mean, really, and people should get mad.
Jay, so Dr. Earhart said we can call him if you want to, and he's a veteran himself. So, do you want to call him?
I do. I do want to call him. No, I'm not going to call him now. Could you write his phone number down for me? And yes. Here you go. There's a piece of paper and a pen. Okay. Yeah, do you know Rod Lewis back in the day? You know Rod Lewis, Lewis Energy? Mm-hmm. He has the largest private plane World War II collection in the United States. Yep. And when we wanted to entertain the idea of putting a Veterans Museum out in one of the old hangars out there by where the new Veterans Administration, the new clinic, where that is, he was willing to donate or park some of his aircraft out there, which he has most of them parked in San Antonio. And we had this beautiful vision of an artist's rendition of what it would look like, and this and that and the other, and we couldn't get it done. Couldn't get it done. I mean, it would have been perfect. Could you imagine those old World War II planes out there? I mean, it would have been nice. But anyway, yeah, let me call you. You go ahead and take over the microphone, and I'll try to get a hold of Dr. Earhart while you're...
Well, I guess, again, we want to repeat. I think AJ said it best. This was done with such little community input from veterans and from people who use the park, from people who live in that area. Nobody was consulted about this, and that's a big concern. And so you've got, I think, two major things going on. Number one, you're talking about this really supercharged history behind the establishment of North Central Park, and then you're also and you're also talking about the history of trying to establish this Veterans Museum, and so I think those are some of the key points that we need to look at. Is that you've got these two big what do you call it, AJ? You've got these two big issues that have kind of now merged, and it's being led by one very small group without consulting the community or the public.
You mean no transparency? No accountability? Are you kidding me?
Right.
Hey, guess who I got on the phone, Tricia?
Who's that?
I got Jim Earhart.
Hey, Dr. Earhart, how's it going?
How are you? Dr. Earhart, are you there?
Hey, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead and put on the... Tricia, go ahead and put those on, and let me turn it down for you. Probably need it turned down.
Okay.
Are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, how are you? I haven't heard from you in a long, long time.
Hey, Jay, how you doing? Good to hear from you.
Yeah, we were just talking on the radio program. I'm sure you are up to date on what's been going on.
Well, I've heard something about it, yeah. Sound like I hear Tricia in the background. Hi, Tricia.
Hello, Dr. Earhart.
Matter of fact, I'm going to let Tricia do the interviewing.
No. Okay. Hey, good to talk to you guys, yeah.
Well, they want to build all that trouble that we went through, you and I, the times that you drug me out there to the swamps and made me. You remember that, don't you?
Yes, sir, I do.
And all the battles that we had with Gene Bell Morris at the time about killing the beavers. I remember that. And anyway, we went through a long process to get North Park the way it is now, and you should be taking most of the credit for it because it's really nice and people really love it. And now they want to build brick and mortar buildings on top of that, and we're doing everything we can to try to stop it. It's not just the VA museum as far as it's just the fact that it should be left alone. Something done right
That's
in
right.
Laredo.
That's right. I'm a veteran myself in the U.S. Army, and I'm certainly for the museum honoring our vets. But I'm also a veteran of trying to make quality of life in Laredo better, and I think that North Central Mall is one of those quality of life issues and should be protected.
Yeah. And Dr. Earhart and Jay, so AJ has done a lot of research and can talk about the park deficit that we currently have in Laredo right now.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
I'm going to give AJ my headphones because it's got a long cord on it, and I can use these little ones over here. Okay, AJ, so you can hear now. Can you hear now?
I can, thank you.
There you go. Well, I'm probably a little loud, aren't I?
That's okay. Looking at the master plan, progressively throughout the years, Laredo has gotten increasingly deficit in the amount of park space per district. The district with North Central Park actually used to be positive around 2008, I believe, but now has gone into the deficit based on population. And as everyone knows, they're building more houses up by the Loop near Academy. And there's no parks up there, I don't believe. So that deficit is going to increase exponentially.
Yeah.
And so, Dr. Earhart, I guess, can you talk a little bit about that? When you have a fast-growing city like Laredo, and you've got less and less park space, can you talk about, Dr. Earhart, what does that mean for quality of life issues when you don't have and you don't have enough green space, park space, and you want to start eating away with more concrete and asphalt, existing park space with other structures and more parking lots. So can you talk a little bit, Dr. Earhart, about what that means for quality of life?
Well, let's talk about psychology and emotions of people. When you got people crowded up in conditions where they have no green spaces, no place to get out and walk, exercise, enjoy the birds and other wildlife, you're creating situations for disaster. As a biologist, I'm thinking of animals that we've kept in cages over the years. They go bonkers. They go bonkers when they don't get out. They're stuck in cages. I've seen rats consuming other rats, right? Because they're caged. And when you have a city where you've got people sort of boxed in little apartments and with pavement all around them, businesses, very little green space, then you're creating a situation for mental and emotional unhealthiness.
I agree with that.
And so places like I've seen what's happened. I've been back and seen that park in operation, and people love it, and it's great for folks.
You know, it's a treasured place. And so, Dr. Earhart, I guess I know Jay's talked a little bit about it, and you know, we were there back in 2001 when all of this started. And Dr. Earhart, can you just give a sense of? I mean, this wasn't just any park that got built, right? I mean, there were lawsuits involved. The EPA came down here. You had hundreds of people going to City Hall asking that this land and that branch of Manadas Creek be saved. And then, you know, that really forced a huge change in Laredo with how, you know, creeks and streams and the environment was treated. And you were in the thick of all of that, Dr. Earhart. And so can you talk a little bit about those highlights from those days?
Well, those were tough days, and I think what would have happened, and I'm trying to remember my streets and so on now, but if we go further north there into some of the housing additions, and help me, Tricia, on this and remembering, but you know, some of Zacate Creek, or some of Manadas Creek, I'm sorry, some of those branches got turned into ditches.
Mm-hmm.
And you know some of those.
Mm-hmm.
Right up, in fact, one going parallel with
Longhorn Street. Longhorn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Longhorn, back up in there.
Mm-hmm.
You've got some areas where the creek was turned into ditches. They just made nice straight ditches out of them, large ditches to catch the water. And I think that's exactly what would have happened to the creek, to the tributary there at North Central Park, if we had not worked to stop that from happening. Because from the developer's viewpoint, that was kind of an efficient way, I guess. Just channel everything into large ditches and get rid of your excess water.
Right.
And send it on to the river. But the problem is, and one of our concerns back then, when you get rid of the green space and you get more concrete and more driveways and lawns and so on, you're sending large amounts of untreated water down to the river, which affects, of course, drinking water quality. We were very concerned about that. So you not only get, by turning all of the green spaces into development and getting rid of park spaces, you're not only creating unhealthy emotional and psychological places for people, but you're also in Laredo negatively affecting their drinking water supply.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you Dr. Earhart, can you hear me?
I barely hear you. Go ahead.
You could barely hear me, really?
I hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. You know what I would like to do? I'd like to get you, if it's okay with Tricia. I would like to do because I want to fight this thing tooth and nail because of all the things that you put me through back in 2001 and 2002.
Yes.
So I'm going to help Tricia stop this whole nightmare.
Okay.
And I would like to do a couple of short interviews with you, more prepared than what I'm doing this morning, and have Tricia involved. Would you like to do something like that, Tricia?
Yes.
And then we need to have some people from the residencies or the residents of North Park. They're around. The whole neighborhood doesn't want this thing.
Right.
So we have an opportunity here in Laredo for the first time in a long time, I believe, to gather the forces and make our voices heard, which we don't see that often here in Laredo because people, with the apathy problem that we have here, people don't usually like to stand up and speak out. But on this issue, I think they will. I really do. And
well, I would certainly...
Yeah, go ahead.
I would encourage the residents to really get involved every way they can on your show here, in the newspaper, every way they can get involved to protect the park. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to interject that idea. Yes, I think you're right. You need to get the folks who live there, who use this park, involved in maintaining and protecting it.
Okay, and then we have Tricia Cortez that will be the band director, so to speak.
It's
wonderful.
No, it's a larger group, Jay. So I could make it here this morning, but it is a larger group and some key, really sharp people that are part of this new movement and this new group, and we want other people to get involved and help us get the museum established and save and protect North Central Park and have that museum built at a different site and location and keep North Central Park doing what it's supposed to be doing. Now, I know that that this small group of vets that's at the center of this, they'll tell you all the time, don't worry. You have nothing to worry about. We're going to take care of the park. We're going to be, good stewards. We're even going to plant like a, couple hundred trees to honor fallen Laredo veterans. And so we're even going to make more trees at this park. And so, this is what you hear all the time. But number one, there are no plans in place. And number two, like what you were saying, Dr. Earhart, is once you start building concrete, asphalt, parking lot structures, warehouse-style museums, loud air conditioners, bright security lighting on this land, all that runoff, it's going to start to affect this park. And you're setting a precedent where you're allowing more and more groups to come and say, we'd like to build at the park too. And where does that end? Who do you tell yes to? Who do you tell no to? And so I think now is the time, and it's long overdue for Laredo that we establish strict criteria and standards for how we treat our parkland and green space that people and families and runners and cyclists and all these other folks use to get away from the noisy, busy world and escape into nature for a little while, listen to the birds, watch, it has a tremendous positive effect. But when you're going to come in and say, we're going to start developing and we're going to start building inside these areas that are specifically designated as parkland and green space, there's a big problem there. That's a huge problem right there. And when you do it with no community involvement or input, that just makes it even worse. That's the icing on the cake right there.
Yeah. Well, I'm for both of these operations. I mean, I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army, and I want to see both things happen. But I think it is so important that park be maintained. I've been thinking about that. Haven't been around Laredo so much lately, but I keep thinking of the military operations out close to the LCC campus and the old cemetery area. Seems like that might be a good spot. It's kind of tied in with the old fort, if it could be that way. And in fact, I'm wondering about the Star Fort over close to the old Star Fort. Seems like would be an ideal place for a veterans museum.
Yep.
So I'm hoping people are looking at that possibility.
Yes, I think we were talking about this earlier, Dr. Earhart, and Jay, for your listeners that are just joining, but LCC has made a very attractive offer, and there's so much history there, with this Army fort that was established in the 1800s, and you had, General Pershing and General Patton, and you had the Buffalo Soldiers, and you had all this very rich history there. And then you also have the former Air Force Base of Laredo, and the city that's identified these 3 blocks, right around the VA clinic, where you already have a natural constituency of people who could enjoy this. And then, there was the original deal that was struck with the downtown Farias building, this building that's about 30 years older than St. Augustine Church, and that's larger than the Alamo. And I think, I think all of these sites really need to be closely examined and looked at for where's going to be the most appropriate location to build a museum that honors all of these Laredo veterans that went off to all of these conflicts. What's going to be the best place for that? And, I think a big group of us, and as Jay said, you've got this movement building. A lot of people say, well, it's not going to be at North Central Park. It can't be. It just is not. It's not a logical fit.
Well, Dr. Earhart.
Yes.
I appreciate your time, and I want to get back with you and get some more input from you. As I have, I will construct some questions with what I see tonight. I'm going to the City Hall meeting tonight, City Council meeting tonight.
Okay.
Where will that be? And so is Tricia, and so is everybody else. And we're going to get back with you, and we're going to consult with you, because you probably are the one guy that knows more about this, how this all became. And I think people need a little history lesson. Mm-hmm. So
history is very important. I love history, and I really do. As a veteran, I feel that the LCC area is it's the fit for me in my mind. Historically, I believe that's the place.
I believe you're right. I believe logistically speaking, that's where it should be. I mean, being at North Park is off the beaten path. Nobody that comes in from out of town is going to go to North Park to see a Veterans Museum. I envision Laredo as such, like, I don't know if you know this, they're talking about a convention center wrapped around La Posada. The downtown is still the same way it was when you left here several years ago. It's still the same. So what I want, the number one thing that I want to talk about mostly on this radio program is the development of downtown, and that's my number one priority. And I think that if you don't fix up downtown first, why bother building a convention center? And if you do fix up downtown, wouldn't the museum for the VA be a perfect location down there if everything was... Yes, I agree. Dr. Earhart?
Laredo's such a historic place. I mean, now I'm up in Central Texas, and people up here. Laredo is it's attractive, very attractive to people. But they like the history. They like the historical aspects, particularly of Laredo.
Yeah, and then I want to get the bird watchers down here too.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of bird watchers, I got to tell you, North Central Park.
Yeah.
Laredo is booming as far as birding. We are now on the map. It's this new ecotourism driver. You get people from all over coming to Laredo to watch birds, because the Rio Grande corridor, which we're part of, between Laredo and Brownsville, is the birdiest corridor in all of North America. So you get birders who have these life lists, which means they want to check off all these species of birds within their lifetime. They want to come to Laredo to be able to check off some 200 birds at one shot. North Central Park is the third most important destination for birding, in our city. And you've got amazing variety of birds, some very unique birds that are there, the tropical parula and all these. So, you would be, once once you start building and constructing, you're going to drive all of this away, and you're going to start to impact that ecotourism industry and base.
Yeah.
Well, I agree
Yeah,
with. Go ahead, sir.
there's just no room to add parking and buildings without diminishing that birding asset for the community. There's no way to add to the burden and keep the birding there. You just lose it. You're going to lose it.
Well, I agree with you about the asphalt and concrete. It makes you go crazy. So I will put together. I'm going to call you a little bit later on, probably in the week. Tricia and I are going to put this, a couple of scripts together and see if we can't get back with you.
I'm happy anytime. I love Laredo, and I just want to see it keep going in a good way.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Earhart, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Earhart.
Jerry. Thank you, Tricia, and
All right.
I'll be careful.
All
Yes,
right. Bye-bye.
All righty. Bye.
Hey, we can have fun with this. You know that, right? I want you to,
and
put on your fighting uniform.
Jay, I think one thing that people need to realize is there was a significant investment that went into creating and establishing North Central Park.
I know that.
And I'm not talking about the manpower, the people, all of this stuff. I mean, all of that took place. But, you're talking about at least $5 million or more that went into making sure that land was acquired and trying to create it in such a way, to where it looks like today. And so, it started with the county putting in that first $600,000. Felix Velasquez was the commissioner of that district or precinct, put in that first chunk of cash. As you mentioned, Jean Belmaris was councilman at that time and brought in, the rest of the other millions of dollars in phases. And so you had all of this work and then financial investment to establish a regional nature park. And so why do you want to come in now and start to, as Jim Earhart said, start to diminish it with development and more construction? Why would you do that?
Because there's people they're just not. There's no rational thought in this whole process. That's the problem. It obviously the current sitting city council and the current mayor have no idea of the historic or the history of what went down in the early 2000s and how much time and effort and money that it took to get this thing right. And for once, and I've been on the air for 12 years. For once, this is one particular project that has been done the right way, and now they want to destroy it. I could go on with you on projects, one right after the other. The Laredo Town Center, for example, that you're familiar with, now they're building again over there. I guess it's a little bit smaller and it's not interfering with the wetlands, is it?
Yes. Yeah, that place got destroyed.
It did. Mm-hmm. So how did that happen? Nobody looking? We fought. Jim Earhart and I fought about that wetland for I don't know how long. And I got chastised by some of the citizens here in Laredo, like I'm stopping development and all this other kind of stuff. This radio program, Once Upon a Time, really could make a difference. It was the #1 program for many, many years. It's going to be again, but I'm back. I just came back, by the way, in case you don't know.
Welcome back.
Yeah. I had to go take care of family business, family first. So both of my parents have been taken care of, and they're both up in heaven together. So now I'm back here, and I'm going to terrorize the place because I figure I only have about 10 or 15 years left. They cracked me open, don't you?
No.
Yeah, I had heart surgery.
Oh, Jay.
Yeah, a year ago today.
Wow, Jay. Well, happy anniversary.
Yeah.
Well, you look outstanding.
Thank you. I haven't smoked a cigarette in a year. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. She goes,
Very
nice.
Jay. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so I'm here to help any way I can. I think this is a good cause. I want people to stand up, and I think you're just the person to lead the band. As a matter of fact, I have a video audio clip from you, the last city council, and I just want you to hear how articulate that she is. And I want you to hear Pete Saenz try to cut her off at the 10-second mark. You know, Pete Saenz, at least I could tell you about Raul Salinas. At least when he was listening and there was some good content. The 3-minute rule is for this reason. It's because when you get some belligerent, bloviating, this person makes no sense at all, you let them go for 3 minutes and then you cut them off and you shoo them away. But if you have a concerned citizen that's making all the sense in the world and her content is good, and everybody's like glued to I was glued to the my computer screen because I was watching it on the computer, and I'm going, God, you cut her off. You know, why did you cut her off? But here's a little clip of that, and I just want you to remember, Tricia, that I'm always listening.
Mayor and Council, Tricia Cortez with the Rio Grande International Studies Center. We're here, Mayor, in support of item 62, A2, I believe is what it is. And because of its link now with North Central Park, my comments are as follows. What is now an iconic landmark in Laredo and a treasured urban green space is on the verge of becoming a concrete jungle, gobbled up by buildings, more concrete, and more asphalt. The history of North Central Park is steeped in lawsuits, citizen activism, EPA visits, years of negotiations among environmentalists, city planners, and developers, and more than $5 million in taxpayer investments. In 2001, that very land became a lightning rod for the community. It symbolizes the start of Laredo's environmental awakening. This issue is about protecting what has become precious to Laredo and preserving it for our future generations. In 2001, proposals for that land drew hundreds of community members, school children, and their parents into these very chambers. Because of the public's outcry and the city's then total lack of protection for its creeks, the city was forced to create a Green Spaces Preservation Committee. 2 long years were spent on a new ordinance that would cause a massive shift in Laredo's business-as-usual style of development. Since it passed in 2004, it has been a slow but steady march to create more parks and trails. Now is not the time to go backward. Laredo is still in a park deficit when compared to cities of similar size in the U.S. I only have to think of my suegros who live in San Isidro outside Loop 20, where not a single park exists for the nearly 1,000 homes that have gone up, with many more under construction. Laredoans are starving for more, not less parks and green spaces. That tops the list whenever Laredoans are surveyed about what they want to improve their quality of life. It's hard to imagine that 16 years later, we are standing before you once again, fighting to protect what many Laredoans hold so dear. The decision to build a significant structure inside a nature park, or any Laredo green space for that matter, must be under the purview of all interested stakeholders. Studies alone are going to cost $50,000 to $200,000 at this site, which will come out of the city's $500,000 budget for this museum. City staff and meetings we've had. Dealing with the harmful runoff from that site will impact federally protected waters of the United States in that park and cost tens of thousands of dollars to remediate. What will be left for the museum? Now is the time to rescind that October 2 vote, secure a more appropriate site for the long-term benefit of the veterans and their wishes for the museum, and assemble a blue ribbon committee that can start to establish strict criteria on how parkland can or can't be developed. And to top it off, we must speak up for the environment. We have to speak up with candor for Manadas Creek and for that deer and raccoon and other precious wildlife that live there. We have to protect them because they can't defend themselves. They can't come here and tell you about this assault on their habitat or talk to you and ask you where can we go. My last sentence. Is it really necessary to destroy all of this for more concrete, more asphalt, and a warehouse bodega? The answer that you will hear from this border community is a resounding no. Thank you.
I love it.
So hopefully it's a little different than what we've heard.
Oh, shut up. Not you, Tricia. You have 10 seconds. How'd you like, here you're on a roll. I mean, you're making all the sense in the world, and people are glued and watching you and listening to you and loving everything you're saying, and then you got 10 seconds. Yeah.
I think they just have these rules that they try to apply to everybody, Jay.
Really?
Yeah,
Sure.
I think so. He was just doing his job.
Okay. Well, we'll wrap it up this time. But you know what? I want you to come back in here, and I'll see you tonight at the city council meeting.
Alrighty. Thank you, Jay. We really look forward to seeing you there. And thank you. And we urge other people in Laredo, if you care about saving North Central Park for you and your future generations, please get involved. And you can start by coming tonight and get to City Hall by 5 o'clock. It'd be great.
All right. And thank you, sir, for serving your country and young man. And
thank you for having us. And people that want to get involved can also look up Friends of North Central Park on Facebook as well.
All right. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.